They don't like it when people are in here at night, 8-year-old Tyler whispered to Emily after a nightmare. Emily thought he was talking about monsters under the bed. She was wrong. When Emily checked her hidden camera the next morning, she saw Tyler's parents entering her bedroom at 2 a.m., setting up recording equipment and performing rituals while she slept. Tyler hadn't been warning her about imaginary creatures. He had been trying to save her from his own parents. Emily Martinez had been struggling to pay for college when she saw the job posting on the university bulletin board. Live-in babysitter needed for well-behaved 8-year-old boy. Excellent pay, private room, flexible schedule. Must be available for overnight stays when parents travel. The pay was almost too good to be true, 3 times what other babysitting jobs offered. But when Emily met the Morrison family at their mansion in the wealthy Hillcrest neighborhood, everything seemed legitimate. David and Linda Morrison appeared to be the perfect upper-class couple. David was a successful investment banker who wore expensive suits and spoke in measured, professional tones. Linda was a former model-turned-interior designer who decorated their home with museum-quality art and fresh flowers. Their 8-year-old son Tyler was polite, well-dressed, and spoke with the kind of vocabulary that suggested expensive private tutoring. The family lived in a sprawling colonial mansion with manicured gardens, a swimming pool, and enough bedrooms to house a small hotel. "Emily, we're so pleased to meet you," Linda said warmly during the interview, her smile perfect and practiced. "Tyler needs someone young and energetic who can keep up with his active schedule. We travel frequently for business, sometimes for weeks at a time, so we need someone who can provide stability and consistency." David nodded approvingly as he reviewed Emily's references and college transcripts. "Your academic record is impressive. We believe in supporting young people's educational goals." Emily was offered the job immediately, along with a generous signing bonus and her own private suite on the second floor of the mansion. Her room was larger than the apartment she shared with 3 roommates, complete with a private bathroom, walk-in closet, and study area. "We want you to feel completely at home here," Linda explained as she showed Emily around. "Tyler's room is just down the hall, and we have an intercom system if you need to reach us when we're home." The first few weeks of the job were exactly what Emily had hoped for. Tyler was an easy child to care for. He followed routines without complaint, ate whatever meals Emily prepared, and entertained himself quietly with books and educational games. The Morrison parents were considerate employers who gave Emily plenty of advance notice about their travel schedules and never asked her to work beyond reasonable hours. Emily felt like she had won the employment lottery. But as the weeks passed, Emily began noticing small things about Tyler that troubled her. The boy often seemed tired during the day, as if he hadn't slept well the night before. He had frequent nightmares that left him crying and disoriented, and he sometimes flinched when Emily moved too quickly or raised her voice even slightly. Most concerning were the small bruises and marks Emily occasionally noticed on Tyler's arms and legs. Never anything dramatic enough to clearly indicate abuse, but enough to make her worry. When Emily gently asked Tyler about the marks, he would always have reasonable explanations. "I fell off my bike," or "I bumped into the coffee table," or "I was playing too rough with the neighbor's dog." But the boy's eyes never met hers when he gave these explanations, and Emily noticed that the marks appeared more frequently when his parents returned from business trips. Emily had taken a child development class in college and recognized some potential signs of abuse, but she also knew that active children often had bumps and bruises from normal play. Emily tried talking to Tyler about his nightmares and general demeanor, but the boy was remarkably guarded for someone so young. "I'm fine, Miss Emily," he would always say politely. "Sometimes I just have bad dreams, but Mom and Dad say that's normal for kids my age." When Emily suggested they talk to his parents about maybe seeing a counselor to help with the nightmares, Tyler became visibly anxious. Please don't tell them I talked to you about the dreams, he begged. They don't like it when I complain about things. The more Emily observed Tyler's behavior, the more convinced she became that something was wrong in the Morrison household. The boy was too well-behaved, too careful with his words, too afraid of disappointing his parents. Emily had babysat for dozens of families over the years, and she knew the difference between a naturally obedient child and one who had been trained to comply through fear. Tyler exhibited classic signs of a child walking on eggshells, constantly monitoring his environment for potential threats. Emily began paying closer attention to the Morrison parents' behavior when they were home. She noticed that they rarely showed Tyler physical affection, no hugs, no playful interactions, no casual displays of parental love. Their conversations with Tyler were formal and instructional, more like a teacher-student relationship than a parent-child bond. David and Linda spoke about Tyler in his presence, as if he were a project they were managing rather than a son they cherished. One evening when the Morrison parents were away on a business trip, Tyler had a particularly severe nightmare that left him sobbing and calling for his mother. When Emily tried to comfort him, Tyler pulled away and said something that chilled her to the bone. "You have to go back to your room now, Miss Emily. They don't like it when people are in here at night." Emily asked Tyler what he meant, but the boy had already retreated into his characteristic silence, refusing to explain further. That night, Emily lay awake in her bed thinking about Tyler's strange comment. Who were they that didn't like people in Tyler's room at night? His parents were out of town, so Tyler couldn't be referring to David and Linda. Emily began to wonder if there were things happening in the Morrison house that she wasn't aware of, things that might explain Tyler's fearful behavior and mysterious injuries. Emily decided she needed concrete evidence before making any accusations about child abuse. False allegations could destroy an innocent family's life and end Emily's college funding, but ignoring real abuse would be unconscionable. After researching online, Emily decided to install a small, hidden camera in Tyler's room, not to spy on the child, but to document any evidence of abuse that might occur when she wasn't present. Emily purchased a tiny wireless camera designed for home security and carefully concealed it behind a stuffed animal on Tyler's bookshelf. The camera was motion-activated and would record to Emily's laptop whenever someone entered the room. Emily told herself she was being paranoid, but she needed peace of mind about Tyler's safety. If the camera revealed nothing unusual, she would remove it and find other ways to help Tyler with his apparent anxiety issues. For the first few nights, the camera footage showed exactly what Emily expected: Tyler sleeping peacefully in his bed, with Emily occasionally checking on him before bedtime. Emily began to feel foolish about her suspicions and considered removing the camera. But then the Morrison parents returned from their business trip, and everything changed. The night after David and Linda Morrison returned from their business trip, Emily reviewed the camera footage and discovered something that made her blood run cold. The video showed the Morrison parents entering Tyler's room at 2 a.m., but they weren't checking on their son. Instead, they quietly moved to Emily's room next door, where the audio picked up sounds of them entering her bedroom while she slept. For over an hour, the camera recorded David and Linda performing what appeared to be some kind of ritual or ceremony in Emily's room, speaking in hushed tones and making strange gestures over her sleeping form. Emily watched the footage in shock and terror, realizing that Tyler's fearful behavior hadn't been about abuse directed at him. It had been about what his parents were doing to Emily. The boy had been trying to warn her without explicitly betraying his parents. Emily's hands shook as she watched David and Linda moving around her sleeping body, positioning cameras of their own and performing ritualistic actions that she couldn't fully understand but knew were deeply wrong. The audio quality wasn't perfect, but Emily could make out fragments of the Morrison parents' whispered conversations. They spoke about preparations and the right timing and completing the process. Linda mentioned something about Emily being ideal for their purposes, and David responded with comments about documentation and maintaining the recordings. Emily realized with horror that the Morrison family had hired her not to care for Tyler, but to be some kind of unwitting participant in their disturbing activities. Emily's mind raced as she tried to understand the full scope of what had been happening to her. How many nights had the Morrison parents entered her room while she slept? What exactly were they doing during these ritualistic visits? And most importantly, what did they plan to do with whatever recordings or evidence they were gathering? Emily felt violated and terrified, but she also felt guilty about Tyler, who had clearly been living with the knowledge of his parents' activities and trying to protect Emily in the only way he could. Emily spent the rest of the night researching what she should do with the evidence she had gathered. She considered calling the police immediately, but she wasn't sure if what the Morrison parents were doing was technically illegal, and she worried that without more concrete evidence, her accusations might not be taken seriously. Emily also realized that she needed to protect Tyler, who would face consequences from his parents if they discovered that Emily had uncovered their secret activities. The next morning, Emily tried to act normally around the Morrison family while secretly planning her next moves. David and Linda behaved exactly as they always had, polite, professional, and apparently caring about both Tyler and Emily's well-being. Their ability to maintain such perfect facades while engaging in disturbing nighttime activities made Emily realize how dangerous and manipulative they truly were. Emily wondered how many other babysitters had worked for the Morrison family and what had happened to them. Emily decided to gather more evidence before taking action. She repositioned her hidden camera to capture a wider view of the hallway, hoping to record the Morrison parents' movements more clearly. She also began documenting everything she could about the family's behavior, the layout of the house, and any other details that might be relevant to an investigation. Emily researched the Morrison family online and discovered that they had employed a series of live-in babysitters over the past several years, all young women who had stayed for only a few months before leaving under unclear circumstances. That evening, Emily made sure to lock her bedroom door and position furniture in front of it, hoping to prevent the Morrison parents from entering her room again. She stayed awake as long as possible, listening for any sounds of movement in the hallway. Around 1:30 a.m., Emily heard footsteps outside her door and the quiet sound of someone testing her door handle. When they found it locked, Emily heard whispered conversations and what sounded like frustration in David's voice. The next day, Linda approached Emily with a concerned expression. "Emily, dear, is everything all right? We noticed your door was locked last night, which is unusual. We sometimes check on our household members during the night to ensure everyone's safety." Emily forced herself to smile and apologize. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Morrison. I've been having trouble sleeping lately and thought locking the door might help me feel more secure. I hope that's not a problem." Linda's smile seemed forced as she assured Emily that her comfort was the priority. Emily realized that her change in behavior had made the Morrison parents suspicious, and she needed to act quickly before they took more drastic measures. Emily reviewed her camera footage from the previous night and saw David and Linda attempting to enter her room multiple times, becoming increasingly agitated when they found it secured. Their behavior on camera was completely different from their daytime personas. They appeared frustrated, angry, and determined to access Emily's room for their ritualistic activities. Emily made the decision to contact law enforcement, but she wanted to ensure Tyler's safety first. Emily carefully approached Tyler when his parents were out of the house and explained that she was concerned about some activities happening at night. "Tyler, I know you've been trying to protect me," Emily said gently. "Can you tell me what parents do in my room when I'm sleeping?" Tyler's eyes filled with tears as he finally felt safe enough to share what he had witnessed. "They record you sleeping," Tyler whispered. "They say it's for special videos that will help with their business, but they told me never to tell anyone because people wouldn't understand. They've done it with all the babysitters. They make me promise to keep the secret, or they say they'll send me away to boarding school, and I'll never see anyone I know again. Emily's heart broke for Tyler, who had been forced to carry this burden and watch his parents violate a series of young women. Emily assured Tyler that he had done nothing wrong and that she was going to make sure both of them were safe. Emily contacted the police from her cell phone while Tyler stayed close beside her, and she explained the situation to Detective James Sullivan, who specialized in cases involving technology, crimes, and invasion of privacy. Detective Sullivan took Emily's report seriously and arranged for immediate assistance. Within hours, police officers arrived at the Morrison mansion with search warrants. Emily had provided her camera footage as evidence, and the police technical team had verified its authenticity. When confronted with the evidence, David and Linda Morrison initially tried to deny the allegations, but the police discovered extensive recording equipment hidden throughout the house and multiple storage devices containing videos of Emily and previous babysitters. The investigation revealed that the Morrison family had been operating an illegal recording scheme for years, targeting young live-in babysitters and creating videos without their consent. The couple sold these recordings to online networks and had made substantial profits from their criminal activities. The police found evidence of at least 12 other young women who had been victimized by the Morrison family's scheme over the past 5 years. David and Linda Morrison were arrested and charged with multiple counts of invasion of privacy, illegal recording, and exploitation. Tyler was placed in protective custody with his grandmother, who had been unaware of his parents' criminal activities. During the trial, Emily testified about her experience and the psychological impact of discovering that she had been victimized while trying to protect Tyler. The case received significant media attention as an example of how criminals exploit trust relationships and use technology to victimize innocent people. Emily became an advocate for awareness about hidden camera crimes and worked with law enforcement to educate young people about protecting themselves in employment situations. Emily's courage in gathering evidence and reporting the Morrison family's crimes led to the rescue of Tyler and prevented other young women from being victimized. Tyler recovered well in his grandmother's care and maintained contact with Emily, who had become an important protective figure in his life. Emily used the experience to change her college major to criminal justice, with a focus on protecting children and young adults from exploitation. Emily's hidden camera, originally installed to protect Tyler, had ultimately uncovered a criminal operation and brought justice for multiple victims. The Morrison mansion was sold, and the proceeds were used to compensate the victims of David and Linda's crimes. Emily learned that trusting her instincts and taking action to protect both herself and Tyler had been the right decision, even when the truth turned out to be different from what she had initially suspected. Emily's story became a reminder that sometimes the people who appear most trustworthy are hiding the darkest secrets, and that technology can be both a tool for exploitation and a means of exposing the truth. Sometimes the camera you hide to protect someone else ends up protecting you. Trust your instincts, document everything, and never ignore the signs that something isn't right.